Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Clinic Growth Secrets Show, where we teach you how to get more patients, make more profit per patient, and keep them as long as humanly possible. This is Jeff EK bringing you another guest episode in the studio today. You guys are going to be really excited for our guest today. He's actually a very well-known individual in the space. Before we get to the good stuff, as usual, we do have a fee for the show. The fee is very simple. If you get value, it is your duty and responsibility to hit the share button. We do not run ads on the show. I don't pay for sponsorships. I don't want people telling me what I can and can't say on the show. So we keep it all organic. So the only way these lessons get to more providers and get to help more people is if you hit the share button. Okay, we're not going to ask for a credit card or any monetary donations as long as you're willing to share the show. Now, if we don't give value, then you don't share the show. It's that simple. It's a value exchange economy. But if you get value, share it with somebody who needs to hear it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you guys are going to be excited for our guest today. Please welcome me, Steve Shanks. He's really the mastermind behind Erchonia, the world's leading producer in cold laser therapy. Steve, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
I'm excited to have you here, sir. Your company, Erchonia, has really become not only the go-to for low-level laser treatment, but has really helped provide a bridge between chiropractic and the medical industry and kind of bridging these under one roof. So here's what's interesting, though, and I really want to start here is that before you started this company and kind of built it to where it's at today, you were actually working at Red Bull. So my first question to you is, how do you go from working at Red Bull into then starting this low-level laser company and then becoming a global leader? I mean, how does that even happen?
Well, probably dumb luck more than anything. Business kind of started out. I was working for a distributor. One of our products was Red Bull, and my dad was going to a chiropractor's office. He had these big helium neon lasers from Switzerland they would import. When they would break down, my brother Kevin would actually fix them for him. He's like, look, he goes, I can make you a small portable laser instead of these big ones that you're getting. It's better technology, blah, blah, blah. That's kind of how we started. So while I was working for the distributor, I started building Erchonia along with my partner, Kevin.
Super interesting. And so you basically were able to, so to be clear on that, Red Bull, were they using like lasers in their, like already in their space? And you said, hey, we can do it better?
Now that was my full-time job.
Got it. Okay.
So I had a full-time job there. Well, I had another full-time job trying to build the Erchonia business. That went on for probably, I'd say, a good 2 to 3 years before I actually quit and started taking a paycheck.
Makes sense. Makes sense. I mean, you're starting something from the ground up, not a lot of cash flow, but you got the stable income from Red Bull and what you're doing over there. And then eventually you reach the point where you just say, hey, man, I can jump ship and just start going all in on this.
Yep. Yeah, that's the business started taking off. So it was time to work, get my life back and at least quit one job.
Yeah, I got to get some time back to invest back in the business. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so the journey began obviously kind of as just like one-off sales and here and that. I mean, like obviously it's transformed into just quite a large organization. I mean, like when you look back on the journey, I mean, like was there a pivotal point? Was there a series of pivotal points? I mean, what led you to become the global leader in this particular product over the course of the years?
Well, what early on, we got a letter from the FDA, a warning letter. The doctor that we started working with turned us into the FDA.
Oh, wow.
He's impound, stop doing lasers. At that point, I'm working a full-time job. My dad, who was kind of like the conscience of the family. I go, Dad, what should I do? He goes, Stevie, you're not hurting anybody. So that probably the best thing that ever happened to us was the FDA. It turned us into a research and development company. The problem back then was there was so little known about low-level laser therapy. I'm high school educated. I had to go to the Colorado Library and start educating myself, and you couldn't find anything. And what we were seeing in this doctor's office clinically and what you could read were two different things, which is the problem with the industry today.
Super interesting. So the FDA became kind of like a little bit of a catalyst.
Yeah, they did because we knew that if we didn't get through the FDA, get a 510K or a marketing clearance, that we would not be able to sell devices. That took us about two blinded and controlled clinical trials in about 3 years.
Wow.
So yeah, the FDA process it's crazy. Most people don't know is all these class 4 lasers, they're substantially equivalent to heat lamps. They're no more efficacious than heat lamps. There's no blinded controlled clinical trials. The category that we're in, low level laser, didn't exist till we created it in 2002.
Wow, that's substantial. So you basically paved your own way with the help of the FDA being like, hey, what are you guys doing behind the scenes? You got to show yourself, and then you're able to actually prove these results.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, that's stunning. That's stunning. Usually you hear when the FDA comes around, it's usually a lot. Usually it's never a great thing in the beginning of it, but you were able to actually turn it into something pretty magical.
Yeah, it starts out absolutely horrible, but once you get through it, it's like, it's a great feeling of accomplishment.
100%. I mean, you just dealt with a massive federal agency that is essentially trying to protect the consumer, and you say, hey, man, like our system is good enough. Not only is it protecting the consumer, we're adding a lot of value.
Absolutely.
Man, that's incredible. And so, but you've made a point along the way to obviously it's grown and grown and again become one of the global leaders. But you've made a point to keep it like a small family business, right? Not going public. From what I know, it's not a public company. Is that accurate?
That's accurate. And as long as I'm around, me and my brothers around, we'll stay family. From day one, this was going to be a family business. It started out as, a couple of people. We've got about 60 people here in our office. We have several sales reps across the United States. We've got a small office in London, but everything's controlled out of our headquarters here in Greenville, South Carolina.
Greenville, South Carolina. It didn't start, from my research though, it didn't start in Greenville, correct?
Now it started in my partner Kevin's garage where his machine shop was, and my living room. When we moved to Arizona, we decided to rent a building. And then we started growing. We bought our first building. Then we moved to Texas, then to Florida, and we've been to Greenville since October. So
Greenville.
we got a brand new state of the art facility here. It's absolutely amazing.
What do you think was your main draw to Greenville currently?
Well, as we're getting older, we want to enjoy life more. Our business is not local, it's more all over the United States, international. So all we really needed was an airport close by. So, we could do work. And for us, we get to pick, okay, where do we want to live next? So me and my brothers will start, we looked at Jacksonville, we looked at North Carolina, we looked at Tennessee. When we flew into Greenville, we go, oh, this is the place. So
That's amazing.
yeah.
Isn't it tremendous to make decisions about where it would be nice, where it would be good to enjoy life, not so much. I mean, like we can do business there, obviously, as you're doing, but like nice place to live, that's phenomenal. And so, like, I love to linger on this topic, if you don't mind, about the small business, because I'm sure at some point there was pressure for it to become a not so small business, go
Oh, yeah.
public, do this and that. I mean, what kind of experiences did you run into along the way to try to like pull you out of that small business mentality?
Well, in 2010, when we got FDA cleared for non-invasive fat, we got cleared 30 days before Cool Sculpting, which is a multi-billion-dollar company. They can affect appearance of fat. We can reduce your waist, hips, and thighs by 3.5 inches. We thought that product was too big for us to handle, so we licensed it off to a different group because we know we didn't want to sell it. That was one of the worst decisions that we ever made. They completely screwed it up. By the time we got it, they kind of damaged the brand a little bit. But luckily for us, when we saw the technology in 2010, we kind of changed the technology in 2015. And, as we're doing research, we try to make the product, anything that we can do to make it better with different wavelengths or some of our theories, we'll run it through research, run it through the FDA, and try to make it better. So luckily, as we were going through that process, we already had a backup plan.
Makes sense. Makes sense. It seems like another one of those like kind of annoyances, maybe even more than annoyance in this case, that then became a little bit of a catalyst for product improvement.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh,
That was really it. We kind of early on, we saw the handwriting on the wall, but we were in a contract. We had to live up to the contract. And when they didn't perform the contract, we got out of the contract and, all the lawsuits come in and all that stuff. And thank goodness that's over with.
yeah. Oh, no kidding. No kidding. Talk about bumps in the road. That's the stuff they don't talk about when they see the track to success is all the getting sued, FDA, brand reputation getting damaged.
Yeah. Everybody, I've had best friends, gone to court with them, doctors that used to work for us, distributors. It's part of business anymore, unfortunately.
It is. It is. And so for you, kind of you personally, obviously, you've got a big team behind you over the years of building this thing up. I guess, what was I want to go back to maybe to the beginning of the journey and then maybe even fast forward to today. What has been what would you say is your primary role or has been your primary role in the organization?
Research and development and new products. I'm more the idea person behind it. Um, and then from there, run it through clinical trials, try to prove those ideas, try to prove those theories. Um, obviously everything we do, we file patents on. We've got dozens and dozens of patents on processes and devices. Luckily, my partner Kevin, he's the exact same age as I am. I've known him since I was 5. We're brothers, and we get to run a lot of ideas off of each other. And now, as we're getting a little bit older, we're bringing the younger kids in.
Yeah. So would you say that you've like fully handed off a lot of your responsibilities at this point? I mean, what is like a day in the life of you today look like?
The day in my life today, probably come in here for 3 or 4 hours. I still go to seminars. I work because I want to, and I will for the rest of my life. But I don't work because I have to, which
What a,
allows me to free up my mind and look at future projects.
it's so yeah, I love that, and I want to like kind of sit on that for a second. I was recently listening to a show of I listened to a handful of different business building podcasts and stuff, and then one of the gals I was listening to, she had said, the first company we built before we sold it was kind of built out of fear because the fear was always like we got to make money, and then when we made enough money, now it became like okay, like what do we really really want to build? And that seems like kind of where you're at now is like it's not so much any fear driven. It's like what's going to be super meaningful for you at this stage and also provide a lot of value to society.
Yeah, and for us, most businesses don't get through the second generation.
Yeah.
That's not our goal. I think we have enough research projects going on, which will take us years to develop to get through the FDA to go on for at least the next 20 to 30 years. The nice thing about doing a lot of research, you get a lot of ideas. A lot of them are not great, but when one turns out, it's worth it.
So as you look in the future, right, you have these other generations helping you build and run and innovate this company. I mean, what does the future of the company look like? Like, where do you guys see it going? What I guess what has you excited right now?
Brain research,
Hmm.
um, autism clinical trial, which, through the FDA process, that's been going on for about 3 years. We should be starting that clinical trial hopefully in about 30 days. We're doing it with the Spalding University at Harvard and Rutgers University. There are clinical trial sites. So we're kind of known in the industry, the light industry as basically a research and development company. So a lot of people come to us looking for, okay, this is a project we think, are you guys interested? So now we get to pick and choose.
You have to be a little bit selective with those.
Yeah, we're looking at everything. Anything that you can do with a drug, you can do with a low-level laser without any side effects and probably get better results. Probably, absolutely get better results.
That's phenomenal. We before we started recording, we had some personal connection because we both experienced a little bit of a spill literally in our life. For our listeners, I took a little bit of a spill in Mexico, cracked my head open, and you had a little spill on the bike. Have you been able to successfully use laser on your injury in terms of like what you've experienced in the recent days?
Yeah, I just fell off a bike. You can see my eye. It's, you know, 2 days ago it was completely closed shut. I know I had a mild concussion, but if you look at my eye now, it's like I can see perfectly fine. All that inflammation's gone, and it's just odd because you see this so much, and it's what's not thought to be possible. We see it happening over and over again.
Yeah, isn't that just absolutely insane? And that's really like, for clarity and listeners too. Like, I mean, I started my journey I mean, again, I went to school for engineering. I started my journey as a patient of chiropractic, and then later learned about all these other services, such as what we're talking today about you guys over at Erchonia. And it's just like not only is it like a phenomenal value add for the clinician, but the results are just like out of the world for patients. And I think it's like a really companies like yours is really a chance to fight back a little bit of against the modern medicine paradigm of like in order to fix anything you have to take some level of pills or have an invasive surgery. So it's crazy to hear all that.
Yeah, and it's even now in the light-based therapy. Everybody's talking about these LEDs, and you can find them everywhere. They're also illegally, and in my opinion, like with LED technology, light technology, it doesn't work. We use it as a placebo device. So, we do visible light. We don't do infrared light. Infrared light affects the electron transport chain differently than visible light. We don't use LEDs. We use lasers, different wavelengths, different pulsations. So it's just, taken us about 30 years to develop this. And we just seem to be adding to the technology because we keep doing more research.
The research has kind of just been like the backbone because it's like just a matter of like we can get this in as many hands as possible. The only thing that limits us is the research and trials that we can do to prove our concepts.
That's absolutely true. And for us, we're regulated by the FDA. Anybody that's going to buy a medical device, ask the manufacturer, I want to see your 510(k) statement. That's what the FDA allows you to market. We've probably got 20 of them. Most other companies don't have any, or it'll say topical heating, muscle relaxation. And unfortunately, like marketing, the marketing is way ahead of the research. And there's so many false claims out there that, we try to put research behind what we say. And when the FDA walks in your office and they audit you, it's a horrible feeling. And we don't want the FDA taking our toys away.
No, absolutely not. And that's why there's all the due diligence, I mean, it's like you said, like, you can spend 5 minutes making a crappy product and have to spend the rest of your life marketing it because by the time people realize the value, they realize there's no value at all. Or you can spend a lot of your time building a phenomenal product that's FDA backed, as you guys have, and then just have the clients help you market it for the rest of time.
Yeah, in cosmetics, because we have cosmetic devices, it said
Uh-huh.
you change your device every 2 years. Well, the reason you have to change your device every 2 years because you filed substantial equivalence off a device that was pre-1976, and there was never any research to prove it worked in the first place. With us, photochemistry is not going to change. Can we make photochemistry better with different wavelengths? That's some of the stuff that we do. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's super interesting, man. Now we obviously there's so much like in your bulk of your work and we talked about like kind of the day in the life of you and what you enjoy doing, but I think a lot of our listeners obviously they're like, hey man, like I've got a good chiropractic practice, I've got maybe a good physical therapy practice, and they look to companies like yours, to obviously have better patient outcomes first and foremost, but obviously to create other streams of revenue. And that's why I thought, that's why I think this conversation is also relevant here. People listen to our show because they want to attract more patients, they want to make more money, they want to live a better life, they want to be able to live like you and have the freedom of choice when they get to that time to have that choice. So obviously you guys have had a big impact in kind of being that bridge from chiropractic and then integrating some of the medical stuff. I guess if I'm a new provider and maybe you don't get into this kind of stuff, but I think your wisdom would be helpful. I mean, when is the time to consider bringing in a device like this?
Um, my opinion is laser is going to do something different than chiropractic and something that different nutrition. As a manufacturer, if we're getting a market clearance, I can only use laser and LED for placebo. That's it. I see a chiropractor, I take nutrition every day. Synergistically, they work better together. The one thing you will see with tissue healing, pain control, with the laser, it's instantaneous. Our chronic neck and shoulder pain, one treatment, 60% pain reduction. You're not going to get that with chiropractic. You're not going to get that with nutrition. Now, do you need that to support the system? Long term, you do. You will get a lot of patient referrals just through treating patients with low level laser. We were able to obtain a category 1 billing code for low level laser therapy for post surgical pain in January this year. Most people don't know about it. That took us about 5 years.
That's incredible. So you've actually got yourself a formal standard billing code that people can now bill in these medical practices to the insurance that will be covering the patients.
Yep, the post surgical pain.
Wow. Yeah, that's something there. I mean, that's talk about the being like the true bridge. Now, to be fair, a lot of our offices are cash based, but the thing is that the consumer is so used to using and leveraging insurance. And so if they can leverage insurance for something that's non-invasive, such as just technology, you get the consumers like, their consciousness tailored to because they plan on using insurance. And then you also get to actually leverage the medical model.
Yeah, the cash-based practice, in my opinion, is it's the way to go. People are so used to paying deductibles. One of the reasons we went after the category 1 code is because me and Travis were kind of like, they denied us on pain, and we've got enough research, and we got 10 different 510Ks from the FDA. Said, well, we don't think so. I go, well, let's go after post-surgical pain. They wound up giving us the code, and it was kind of like, that's okay. I would highly suggest cash. We're all paying deductibles through the roof. Um, Referrals is still the best way to get patients. If a patient's getting better, they're getting pain reduction in one treatment, they're going to tell somebody.
Well, and was absolutely, like, I completely agree. Cash model, referral all day. They're more compliant. They stick longer. They pay more. It's just like there's so many reasons. But what's crazy about it is, like, one of the things I teach and talk a lot about on the show is the level of consciousness of the consumer. And so in the Amazon world, like, especially with chiropractic care, but we're going to circle back to what you guys got going on, the consumer is respectfully ignorant enough to believe that one adjustment might do the trick, or it might change their whole life. You know what I mean? They don't look at it as like a long-term kind of like gym membership, like you got to stay fit. Like, you don't just get fit and it's over, but the consumer might think that. But what's crazy is that when you start coupling chiropractic with like services that like you guys offer and these machines, you can actually start to get pretty dang close to, in quote, instantaneous relief. And so you want to talk about a referral magnet. It's like you give so much value because I feel better. It happened quickly. Like, dude, who else in my life do I need to send to this provider because of how fast I was able to experience relief? I mean, talk about value add, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We have 3 different indications for chronic neck and shoulder pain, 60% pain reduction, one treatment. I mean, I don't know of any way else to get pain reduced faster than that.
So we talk about chronic neck, shoulder pain. What are some other, maybe someone's like, hey man, I'm considering the cold laser. Like, what are some of the other value added approaches that come with this device?
Value as far as treatments.
Yeah, like different like things you guys can treat, symptoms.
Yeah. So we did a clinical trial on plantar fasciitis. After 1 year, it was completely gone. That's FDA cleared. Chronic low back pain. We have the only FDA cleared device for low back pain. That was in 2014. We have an overall neuromuscular clearance through the FDA, which neuromuscular is about 80% of pain. So, when you start looking at all the different pain indications, we've got 2 post-surgical pain. So we're treating acute and chronic pain. Right now we're trying to get into like more brain conditions. We also have toenail fungus, FDA cleared, a lot of fat reduction clearances.
Wow, that's impressive. It's much better now, but I have a little bit of a struggle with planner myself. Not
Yeah.
terrible, not terrible, but no, but sometimes notable, especially after like a run or like a long hike or something like that. That's interesting. I also, and this could be wrong, that's why I'm curious. I read something about possible like weight loss. Is that a thing or that's not a thing?
Well, ours is more fat loss than weight loss.
Okay, fat loss, fat loss.
Yeah, if you think about it, the fat cell, the contents inside of it don't weigh much. So
Sure.
we're killing the cell. All we're doing is liberating the fat outside the cell, and the body's processing it naturally. So we don't get a lot of weight loss. So you might, if you're gonna lose 3.5 inches off your waist, hips, and thighs, you might lose 2 pounds, but you'll
That's
be
it.
better,
That's,
and your pants will feel better.
yeah, no kidding. That's interesting though. So it's not weight loss, it's fat loss.
Yeah,
And then the body just kind of naturally metabolizes that once it's kind of like, I don't know the science behind it, obviously you do, but the body will naturally get rid of those fat cells once they're kind of lifted.
yeah. One of our best research uh, people for fat loss is Mayo Clinic in Rochester. They've done 4 clinical trials through us, bought the equipment. They didn't want, feel like somehow that we were skewing their technology. Absolutely wonderful to work with. We understand and they understand fat loss is a problem. It's not just the fat, it's also, calorie intake. So if you start liberating that fat and you start dieting, you'll get great fat loss and you'll get great weight loss.
Wow, that's
So it's an educational thing. Drug therapy, everybody wants a pill and get better, overnight. It just doesn't work that way.
right. Especially when it comes to the weight loss, fat loss category. I mean, so much of that is just chronic lifestyle and, how you live. I mean, you can't outwork a bad diet. Man, that's good stuff. Um, in terms of as we kind of obviously I want to be respectful of your time and the listeners' time. What's the best way to maybe learn a little bit more about you, Steve? I mean, someone's interested in maybe exploring the technology, maybe getting involved, maybe even purchasing one for their office. I mean, where should we point people?
If you want to see the research that we're doing, you go to clinicaltrials.gov/Erchonia. You'll see every research project that we've worked on, The results are published. www.erchonia.com is our website. So you'll kind of see what we have cleared is our website. What we're working on is clinicaltrials.gov.
Clinicaltrials.gov, and you said it was slash Erchonia.
Yep. And we probably got 50 clinical trials that are on that website.
I'll make sure to link both of those in the show notes for you guys. Real quick, because I stupid question to ask near the end of the show. I actually have two more questions for you before we run, but the first is the stupid one. Where'd you come up with the name? How'd you come up with Erchonia?
The word Erchomia in Greek means light. So we took out the M, put in N. So basically it's a generic term for, Erchonia, light. That's what it means to us.
Light. Yeah. Huh. Okay. That's cool. That's cool. I love that. This I'll make sure to link those out, guys, too. Check those out. Make sure you follow it. I'll link out some of like Steve's stuff too for personal stuff. Like social medias, guys, make sure you follow them. And then my last question, which I like to ask all my guests, it's a little bit of a hypothetical, but I think you'll like it. Are you ready for it?
Sure.
All right. So if tomorrow morning you woke up and you lost all your money, you lost all of your resources, so like you don't have any connections, anything like that, you have no infrastructure, you have no assets, but you have your current knowledge that you have right now, what would you do to build back as much as you possibly can over the next 30 days?
Probably try to figure out what I'm doing now. Because, I mean, what I do is I just consider myself extremely fortunate to be in this position. I don't think I would want to do anything else.
What do you think you would do to build back the business and kind of like start building the company again?
I would figure out where all my brothers and all my family was. Said, hey, we got to get back together and figure this thing out again. We started it from nothing. We can build it all again if we have to.
Amen to that, man. I mean, that's what's cool. Steve Jobs said it best. The dots always connect backwards, right? And so once you have the skills to do something, even if you lose it and go through some bumps in the roads, as we discussed on the show today, you at least have those in your back pocket no matter what,
Yeah, they always make you better.
Always, man. It's the people, it's the character. A lot of the journey of entrepreneurship is like the person you become along the way, not so much like the money or anything like that or the business. Like that's all great, but it's really the person required for you to become to achieve those things.
Yeah, absolutely. I get to work with a lot of amazing doctors, a lot of guys that stuck their neck out way back when this technology was nothing, nobody believed it. We were all called snake oil salesmen and stuff like that to come back and go, well, maybe we were right, maybe they were wrong.
That's amazing, man. Well, I appreciate you being here, guys. Make sure you follow all of Steve and his work. I'll make sure to link it out in the show notes. Appreciate you being here, Steve. Valuable conversation. I certainly enjoyed it, and hope to see you again in the future, my friend.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. And remember, if you guys got some value today from Steve and his work and our conversation, hit the share button, and then I'll make sure to see you guys in the next episode of Clinic Girl Secrets. Until then, cheers.